Have you ever heard a story so good, so perfect, you just had to believe it was true? Well, get ready to have your mind blown, because today we're diving into the top 10 things that never actually happened, even though pretty much everyone thinks they did. Let's kick things off with a classic. Lemmings. You've probably seen that old footage of them marching off a cliff in a mass suicide. It's dramatic, it's memorable, and it's completely fake. That famous scene was staged by a documentary film crew in the 1950s. They literally herded the poor creatures off a cliff to get a sensational shot. In reality, lemmings are just trying to migrate, and sometimes they accidentally fall. They're not suicidal, just a bit clumsy. Next up, number 9. Vikings and their horned helmets. Picture a Viking. What do you see? A big, burly warrior with a magnificent helmet sporting 2 giant horns, right? Wrong. This image is pure fantasy, popularized by a 19th century opera. Archaeologists have found plenty of Viking helmets, but not a single one has horns. It just wouldn't be practical in a fight. Imagine getting your horn stuck on a tree branch mid-battle. Not very intimidating. At number 8, we have Napoleon Bonaparte and his supposed short stature. People still use the term Napoleon complex for short men with big ambitions. But here's the thing, Napoleon wasn't even that short for his time. He was about 5 feet 7 inches, which was average for a Frenchman in the early 1800s. The myth likely started as British propaganda to mock their enemy. So, let's give the guy a break. Coming in at number 7 is the idea that people in the Middle Ages thought the earth was flat. This is one of the most persistent myths out there. Educated people in Europe have known the earth was round since the time of the ancient Greeks, way before Columbus set sail. The whole flat earth story was largely invented in the 19th century by writers who wanted to portray the Middle Ages as a dark and ignorant time. At number 6, let's talk about Albert Einstein. Did he really fail math in school? It's a comforting story for anyone who struggled with algebra, but it's not true. Einstein was a math prodigy from a young age. He mastered differential and integral calculus by the time he was 15. The rumor started when he failed an entrance exam to a university, but he was 2 years younger than the other applicants and aced the math and science parts. He only failed the non-science subjects. Halfway through our list at number 5, let them eat cake. This famous line is always attributed to Marie Antoinette, supposedly showing how out of touch she was with the starving French population. But there's no credible evidence she ever said it. The phrase actually appeared in writings before she was even queen, attributed to other aristocrats. It was likely just a piece of anti-royalty propaganda that stuck to her name. For number 4, we have the story of Isaac Newton and the apple. We all know the tale. Newton is sitting under a tree, an apple falls on his head, and boom, he discovers gravity. It's a neat story, but it's a simplification. Newton himself said that he was inspired by watching an apple fall from a tree, which made him wonder why things always fall straight down. But it didn't hit him on the head, and it certainly wasn't an instant eureka moment. His theory of gravity was the result of decades of hard work and calculation. Cracking our top 3 is the myth that you only use 10% of your brain. This one is so popular in movies and such. The idea that we have this massive, untapped potential just waiting to be unlocked is exciting, but it's just not true. Brain scans show that we use virtually every part of our brain, even when we're sleeping. Different parts are active at different times, but they all have a function. At number 2, let's debunk the Trojan horse. Homer's epic tale of the Greeks hiding inside a giant wooden horse to sneak into Troy is one of the most famous stories from antiquity. But many historians now believe it was likely symbolic. The horse might have been a metaphor for a type of siege engine, or even an earthquake that brought down Troy's walls. There's no archaeological evidence of a giant wooden horse, and it sounds a bit far-fetched, doesn't it? And finally, the number 1 thing that never happened, a fair and square game of Monopoly. Just kidding. The real number 1 is that Christopher Columbus discovered America. First, you can't discover a place where millions of people are already living. Indigenous peoples had been there for thousands of years. Second, he wasn't even the first European to arrive. The Vikings, led by Leif Erikson, landed in North America around the year 1000, nearly 500 years before Columbus. So there you have it, 10 massive myths, completely busted. Which one surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed unraveling these historical untruths, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more. See you next time.